Hey guys, how you doing? This is Paul, and in my update video way back in early January, I promised that I would be starting a new series in 2017 that's all about stuff that I use behind the scenes and some tips I use to make my videos. So 5 months later, I'm finally getting around to this series, and in this series, I plan on covering all sorts of stuff like gear I use, maybe some filming techniques that I use, editing tutorials, and really anything else that goes on behind the scenes. So for this first episode, we're going to be taking a look at the camera I use, which is the Canon 80D, and specifically why I use it, while some people might argue that it's very overpriced for what it offers, and that there are other cameras that are much better at the same price point. So I've been through a lot of cameras throughout the life of this channel. So I started out a few years ago just using my phone to film all my videos, but then a few months later I upgraded to my first DSLR, which was the Nikon D3300. And then in spring of 2016 I purchased the Panasonic G7, and I used that for a couple months before switching to the Canon T5i. And I even used the Sony a6300 for a little bit before finally settling on the Canon 80D, which I think I'm finally happy with. And I find that with all of my previous cameras, they had some sort of drawback that really made it difficult for me to use them long term. But I feel that the Canon 80D really satisfies all my needs. So one of those areas that the 80D and most other Canon cameras really nail are the colors. I use auto white balance with slight color editing in post, but the natural footage from the Canon 80D is far better than any other camera I've ever used. In fact, one of my biggest complaints about the Panasonic G7 was just how terrible the white balance was. It was practically unusable, so every time I shot with it, I would have to manually adjust the white balance, which only took a minute or two, but over time it got really annoying to deal with. And not having to worry about that with the 80D is really nice. Another thing that really makes the 80D so convenient to me is the autofocus. And the 70D and the 80D are widely known as two of the best autofocusing cameras out there with their dual pixel autofocus system. So I know that Sony has recently caught up to Canon in this department, but with a lot of other cameras, you can't really rely on autofocus, because a lot of times you'll find it hunting for focus and going in and out of focus throughout the shot. So with all my older cameras, I was forced to use manual focus, which didn't always work out. In fact, I can remember so many times that I had to completely reshoot an entire video just because I was barely out of focus. But now with the 80D, I can just set it to face detect autofocus, and again, it just makes things a lot easier, and it's just one less thing that I have to worry about. Now, another feature that has recently become a must-have to me and my workflow is the flip-out display. And this is one of the few major things that is preventing me from switching to something like a Sony a6500. So it might not seem like a big deal, but a flip-out display really helps me frame up the shot, like making sure that I have the right amount of headroom and that I'm fully in the frame, so I won't have to reshoot anything. It's also a really nice and accurate touchscreen, which is amazing when paired with that autofocus system. So for example, a common shot I like to do for this channel is to focus on the background and then tap the object in the foreground that I'd like to focus on, and I'm able to get a nice, easy focus pull out of it. Another little bonus that's really nice with any Canon camera is the lens selection. Canon is known for having one of the best lens selections out there. They have great cheap starter lenses like the Canon Nifty 50 and the 24mm f2.8 lens, which are both only just about $100. And then they have their L series glass for more professional use, but there's also a ton of third-party lenses to choose from. My main lens that I use for pretty much every video is from Sigma. It's the famous 18-35 f1.8 lens, and paired with the 80D, this is a killer combo. Of course, the quality out of this lens is really amazing, and the autofocus is super fast and nearly silent, so I won't have to worry about it affecting the audio. And on top of everything I've already talked about, something that I find that's really underrated in the 80D and pretty much all other Canon cameras is their ease of use. Pretty much anybody should be able to use a Canon if they know just a little bit about cameras in general. The menu system is super easy to navigate, it's very self-explanatory, and I can find any setting that I need to adjust within seconds. Now, it's worth mentioning that the T5i, which I'm filming this right now on, has a lot of the benefits that I've been talking about with the 80D. It's got the flip out touchscreen, the easy to use menu system, the great colors, and of course, the huge lens selection. However, it does lack the dual pixel autofocus, which is a big deal for me, and it's missing a few other features that are really nice on the 80D. For example, the battery life isn't quite as good, it doesn't have the second display on top, and it can't shoot in 60 FPS at 1080p, but really, if these things don't matter that much to you, or if you just don't quite have the extra $400 to $500 for the 80D, then something like the T5i or T6i is still a very solid option. So in conclusion, while I can see why some people might think that the 80D is a waste of money because it's lacking 4K recording, for me, the amount of time and the convenience that this camera provides makes it one of the best cameras out there at this price point. So I will probably upgrade to 4K in the future, but I'm really waiting for Sony or Panasonic to make a camera that's free of compromises. It's gotta be easy to work with, and of course have a flip out display, which is missing in the Sony a6300 and a6500. And right now, at this moment, I feel that the Canon 80D is the best option for me and my workflow. So if you think you'd like to purchase the 80D, the T5i, or the Sigma lens that I talked about, I'll have all those links in the description down below, and those are actually Amazon affiliate links, so if you purchase something through those links, I get a small percentage back, and it really helps out the channel. So anyways, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Behind the Scenes, and if you have any recommendations for future episodes, please feel free to leave those in the comments down below. And anyways, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for some more content coming soon. Thanks.